All right, today's discussion is kind of fun. It is how to pay off your house with magic. And this is a true story in my case, and it's kind of fun. And I'll get into exactly how that happened in just a moment. But the basic principle is, in order to reach financial independence, two things have to be true. Number one, you have to earn more. Number two, you have to save more. So you can increase your savings by either cutting back on your lifestyle or by earning more money. And maybe a combination of the two of them. And I think that's a problem for many Americans, because we have a certain lifestyle that we want to live, and we're just not sometimes willing to cut back on expenses. But it's certainly possible to save more if you spend less. And on the flip side is, if you want to save more but don't want to cut back on your lifestyle, then you got to earn more. And so one of those two things has to happen in order for you to kind of reach financial independence. And then you also have to, for what you save, you have to invest it in things that will appreciate, and the higher appreciation you can get, the higher likelihood you'll reach financial independence. So one method that people choose to do that is by getting a side hustle. And maybe you work your 40-hour-a-week job, and then you do something else. Maybe you drive for Uber, or you know how to do handyman tasks. Maybe you cut grass or something. Maybe I don't know. There's all kinds of different side hustles that you can get, that you can add extra income. Maybe you play a musical instrument, and you can pick up some gigs or whatever. But having a side hustle is a great way to add extra income to your overall mix. And the side hustle is what I did. And by day trade, I'm an electrical engineer, and you have to put in 40 hours a week in your career to be an engineer. And I was one that kind of struggled with the engineering type stuff. I did not find it really engaging. I was good at it, I was proficient, but it's not something that I really love to do. And so some of my engineering buddies chose to work overtime, and that's the same as doing a side hustle. And I might have made more if I could just do extra overtime, something over 40 hours, put in 45 or 50 or 80 or whatever. And some guys did that. I just couldn't do it. 40 hours was the maximum that I could stomach. But as luck would have it, I had a second career, and I started this pathway back when I was in junior high. And it's kind of interesting because, as luck would have it, I became an apprentice to a professional magician. And that blessed my life. I was interested in magic as a kid. I was also interested in science. I was probably a nerdy science kid, but I got connected to a magician who was working in a local family entertainment center. He needed help. I was cheap labor, and so he said, "Hey, if you'll come work for me for free, I will teach you how to become a magician." And so I was way into that. I was 13 at the time, and my mom, bless her heart, she drove me out to this amusement park so that I could help set up his show. I got to move the props around, listen to the performances backstage. And so basically I was getting trained in an extra career. I didn't realize it at the time. It was just pure fun to me. But that was a valuable skill that I learned how to do. It was something I was not naturally gifted at, but I learned it. And so by the time I finished high school, I had worked with him for about 7 years, and I could proficiently perform my own show. And that was a blessing to me over the years. And interestingly, as I went through my college years, I would do engineering classes during the winter times. And the summertime, I worked at another large amusement park, and I was a juggler / magician all summer long. And it was a great job, and it was a perfect balance for me, because by the time spring came around, I was so tired of calculus. I wanted nothing to do with it. And so, getting done with that and going out and being in an amusement park where I just juggled and tried to make people laugh all day, that was awesome, but it was very physically taxing. It was very hot out there. And by the time the season was done, my hands and my arms had it. Juggling stuff is rough on you when you're doing it all day long. And I was just so tired of the physical labor that by the time the school year came back around, I was ready to stress my mind again and do some more calculus. So it was interesting, that worked. But I did that for 3 years while I was a college student. So basically I put myself through college with magic, so that's kind of fun. After I graduated from college, I didn't start my engineering degree right away. I was actually a professional magician at another amusement park, and I enjoyed that. I did about 2,000 shows in a year and a half or something, and thought that, hey, maybe I want to be a performer full time, but then the amusement park ended up shutting down and I lost that job, got laid off, and so I had to fall back on my engineering degree. So it's kind of interesting. I had both a degree and a skill, and so then I started as an engineer and kept that job, but I didn't give up on my performing, and I sought other performing gigs. And I would go, and if I ever saw a location that I thought could support a magic show, I would go and I'd say, hey, I will come and let me perform for free for you so you can watch what I do, and if you like what I do, then we can discuss some terms. And I would get hired by doing that. They'd come out, they say, hey, you're really good, and I'd say, I'm willing to come out on my Saturdays for X amount, and they're like, yeah, I think that's worth it. So they benefited because they didn't have to hire someone full time. I benefited because I could fill up my Saturdays. And so basically for a long time I worked 6 days a week, and I would do 5 days a week at my engineering job, and then my Saturdays I would go be a performer. And this worked for me well because I love performing. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't like work, and I would find that after a doldrum week of engineering, just coming out and getting to make people laugh and be entertained just kind of recharged me, and that was great. And so I made somewhere between $15,000 to $20,000 a year doing this 1 day a week thing. I also hired out for corporate gigs and school shows, a couple birthday parties here and there. But that's decent money. You can't live off of average $17,000. You can't live off of that, but if you already have a salary, that makes a huge difference. And so, it's interesting over time as I realized, I added up the numbers. There was a 7-year stint where I was working just Saturdays at this amusement park, and I made like $130,000, which was more than I had paid for my house originally. I know how house prices have increased, but I guess so have wages too. But literally, I paid for my house with magic because I was performing as a magician on a weekly basis. So I can truly say that I paid for my house with magic, and that's kind of fun. But the principle is there. It's a side gig. It's something that I was good at. It was a skill that I had that I could do more hours every week, but also really enjoy it. I absolutely loved those performing times. And it was something I just excelled at. And often I thought, hey, can I go full time and be just a professional magician? There were times when I kind of tried to go that route, but I live in Utah and there's just not a huge entertainment center here. I just realized, no, that's not possible. And eventually I just got satisfied saying, I'll have a big show in a small place, and just enjoy the time. And then slowly over time, the extra income that I earned made a huge difference financially. So, today I'm probably much further ahead than all those engineering buddies that I worked with, and there's very few of them that have retired, and I'm right on the cusp of that. And it's kind of interesting. I chat with some of them, and they're still kind of living paycheck to paycheck, and I look back and I've got my house paid for, I've got investments. I'm like, why? What's the difference? I'm like, oh, I think it is. I work 6 days a week for 20 years, and I just have always had this side gig that I loved. So that's kind of an interesting principle. If you can find something you love that also makes money, you can add that to a normal job that's kind of dull, and the results over the years, as long as you are willing to save some of it and invest it, can make a huge difference. So, maybe you're a magician or a musician, and you play some side gigs for something, or you've got some other talent. You're an artist and you can sell a few paintings here and there, or whatever you can do to add a little extra income. Maybe you're a YouTuber. I don't know. Maybe it's not enough to live on all at once, but if you can add that to a normal job, then slowly over time the amounts add up and you get ahead of everyone else in the country. So couple food for thought I paid for my house with magic. It was really a side career. It was my extra side hustle, and it ended up having a huge financial difference for my life. So think about what can you do that maybe you would enjoy, that would add some extra funds to your life, and that could make all the difference. So like, subscribe. It's not financial advice, just some life experience that I wanted to share with you. We'll see you. Bye.